Yes, so welcome to the session. I hope I'm clearly audible. Now we are going to start our session. So, first of all, I'd like to have a brief introduction about yourself before we begin our session. Because our session is being curated for UGC Net, as I told you previous day. So, give me a small intro about yourself. Your voice is not clear. Actually, I think the mic is not that close to you. That's why your voice is a bit low. So, could you bring the mic closer to you? Now you can use your voice. Let me check the voice. It's getting better now. The voice is better.
Okay, like now I'm audible to you.
Completely you are audible. Yes.
Okay, so like I'm Kritika Koirala. I've done a bachelor's graduation from Sikkim Government College Tadung, and I've done a master's from Sikkim University itself.
Okay, so you are aspiring
So
for UGC Net. May I know that what is your target year? Which year you are taking in as a main primary target?
December 2023.
Okay, so we don't have that much of a time, as you know from the very beginning. It's almost August. So just let me give you a brief strategical overview of the syllabus. Then we will get into today's session. So we are
Okay.
generally going to be curated on paper one. We are going to talk on that, but primarily let me give you a strategical overview on the entire syllabus first. So I'm sharing the page now. You can tell me when the page is being shared with you. So this is from the UGC website that we are going to have a look or glance at our paper one syllabus. I hope you can see it by now.
Yes.
Okay. So as you can see that our syllabus is primarily beginning with teaching aptitude, which plays a very important role in being a net aspirant, because you know that there are two primary outcomes of qualifying net. One being the junior lecturership, the other one being the junior research fellowship.
The background I can't hear you.
Okay, okay. Just let me fix the mic. I think that would be better. Now is the voice better?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so as I was saying that today we are going to have an overview on the paper one syllabus, and to begin with, you can see that we are starting off with teaching aptitude, which plays a very important role. Because after you have qualified your net, you will begin your career with lecturership in colleges, and their teaching will play a very vital role. So these are some of the strategic overviews of how you can improve your teaching strategies and what are the requirements of a basic lecturer in a college. So these are the areas that are going to put some emphasis on those areas. And along with that, there are also a few governmental schemes that you can see, like the Swam Prabha, like the MOOCs. You need to know about their what are being included in these programs, who are being benefited, how can we implement them. So basics like these are going to be discussed over here. And more importantly, this traditional and the modern ICT based curriculum is very important, because since the COVID times, the usages of computers and gadgets have become so high in the lives of the people who have been included in the educational system. So you also, if you want to stay in this field, if you want to stay in this domain, you also have to be very much accustomed to the usage of technology, to the usage of softwares, and more importantly, the usage of computers. So it is also been integrated in the syllabus for that reason. Now coming to the next part, this is the second most important phase of you being a researcher, that is the research aptitude. So what are the areas that you need to overcome and focus on if you want to be a successful researcher? Because ultimately when you pass UGC net, I really hope that you are going to look for PhD in future,
Yes, sir.
for a postdoctorate program, and at that time the research aptitude is going to be very crucial, because many technicalities you are going to learn, that you are going to use it on the field. many things you're going to learn, that how to overcome the problems that you're going to face in your research field, how to overcome it by ICT, I mean by computers, or by human power, or by your intellect, how you can overcome them with that. So this is primarily been discussing the thesis and the article writing, then the application of ICT in research and the research ethics. In research, ethics is very important. So do you know why research ethics is being given such an important phase in your syllabus? So what is the usage of ethics according to you in a research program? Why do we need to focus on ethics? Or where are the areas where a researcher can falter in his ethics during a research?
Mm, At last, what did you say? I didn't listen.
I was saying that where are the areas which you feel a researcher can falter in his research by not maintaining the research ethics? So why is this ethics part so important?
Okay, like maybe I feel like no, this is not format and styles, no, like APA styles and all. It's not that, no.
No, it's talking about your mindset as a researcher. It talks a lot about your psychology.
Okay, so I don't have much
So
idea.
let me give you a brief overview because we are not discussing it in details. I'm just giving you an out and out overview. So say for instance you are doing a research, say for instance if you are doing a research on a domain on which many research papers have already been published on the same topic. Many researchers have done some work on that area in which you are doing focus on. So what do you need to do as a researcher when you're using their knowledge, when you're using their work? You need to cite their names, right? You need
Writing.
to provide the sources of the data where you have got. So that is your research ethics. That is, you're maintaining the ethics of a research program. You're mentioning the name of the people who had worked in your field. But there are also certain researchers in our field where we see they do not feel the need of mentioning the areas from where they have been benefited or the researchers. So there you're going alongside, I mean, on the crossroads of the ethics. So in these papers, we have seen many times your papers are not selected in the ultimate area from where you will get the PhD. So these things have to be very clearly been kept in mind, like maintaining the proper citations, maintaining the proper application format, writing the proper way of thesis. So these things are very important nowadays. It was very important before also, but now with the growing usage of computers and software, it's so easy to copy someone's work and put it in your name. So there are also certain programs like plagiarism software. I hope you have heard about it. So there, if you simply put the work, it will tell you that whether you have copied from some website or it is your original work. So you have to surpass these problems also as a researcher. So this is also been discussed in the syllabus. Going forward, we see communication, and this is the part where we are going to highlight on in today's class. That how important is the part of communication in preparing yourself as a researcher. Like the ways of communication, what are the barriers, which are the mediums like the mass media and the society. So this is also an important convention of your syllabus.
Yeah,
Coming to the next,
communication is my communication. Normally, communication like the chapter or the unit is not so hard, but according to me, in in real life, I can't
yeah,
apply this communication and all. No, like I don't communicate a lot, so
yes,
like it would be a problem for me.
yes, it is, I would say, a social problem for many of the researchers who consider themselves as to be the right word here would be introverts. They think that they are very introverts and they are not that social going. Let me tell you that the more introvert you are, the more social you're going to become during your research work. It's my experience that I have learned from. That I was also a very introvert person. I did not like to talk with many people. I did not like to make many friends. I did not like to go to many places. But once the research work started, I had understood the essentiality of changing your location, the essentiality of meeting new people, the usage of these things. Why? Because ultimately human beings are a very social animal. And the people who do not consider themselves to be social, they are doing nothing but they are going against the normal human ecosystem. But there will be a time where your necessities and your requirements will make you social in your own way. It's not important that every person in the world will be the same. The way you consider society is very different to the way I do consider. So based upon that, your responses also change. So you're going to learn that in the communication part. I will go to explain here. The next parts that are starting from here on, Unit 5, it gets a bit more tricky for students who are from the arts group, because here we talk about mathematical reasoning and aptitude. A bit of a basic mathematics and arithmetic is there up to our class 10 standards, like the types of reasoning, the number series, the codes, the percentage calculations, profit and loss, interest and discounting, compounding, averages. Very basic arithmetic is there. It's not anything that you cannot do or you should be afraid of. If you do the proper level of practice and if you solve the right amount of mock test, you can easily score full marks in this area, mathematical reasoning. Many art students score full marks in this area. It's not anything out of the world, so it's possible. Now the next part, I think this is an area where you will invest the most amount of time in paper 1. This is the biggest area, and this is the area which will give you the highest amount of marks. It will decide whether you pass your paper 1 or not. So it is the most important area where we will also focus a lot on. You will see during our coursework. That is the logical reasoning. So any idea that you have developed by now on this regard, logical reasoning?
No.
So just let me give you a glimpse of what are we going to do here. Okay. So basically in this part we are going to learn about certain technicalities which will prove our work. Do you know why reasoning is being taught to you in paper 1? There is a reason why UGC has implemented it. The reason being that when you have done your research work, say for instance you are writing your thesis, you are presenting it in front of your, I would say, jury, who will decide whether you pass your PhD or not. So you have to prove to them that your work is authentic. You have to prove to them that your work is, I would say, to the point. So these are certain, I would say, they are certain tools by which we can measure how authentic is your work. And every paper goes through this set of tools. When you pass through this set of tools, then we can mark that whether your paper is in the right direction or you're deviating from the topic. So from now onwards, you are getting very much into the genre of, I would say, the postdoctoral. The UGC net is just the first step in your way towards PhD. So you're learning these small basics, which ultimately is gonna help you in your PhD paper. Like, let me give you some of them. What you are going to learn there, like the Venn diagrams. In the Venn diagrams, do you know what do they do? They will give you three statements, and those three statements you have to show in a diagram without saying a single word. They will tell you three statements. You have to convert the three statements into a simple diagram which will explain the statement you told. Like, say, for instance, if I tell that Kritika, you live in Nepal, which is a part of Asia. I told you three statements. So, here, if you are drawing simple three circles within one another, I mean, you draw a small circle, above draw that you draw another circle, and you draw a bigger circle. So, what does that denote? That the bigger circle is Asia, within that, the smaller circle is Nepal, and within that smaller circle is another small circle that is you, Kritika. So, this is a way in which you can, express yourself without using words. So, this is some of the technical figures where you are going to learn. So reasoning part is the most interesting part. You are going to really be very excited when every new day you're going to learn a new kind of a trick of how to express yourself, express your work in a bit more, it's a scientific manner. So it's the most interesting part, the highest score part, and the part where we are going to spend the most amount of time. So this is about the logical reasoning. I'm not going in very much of a details. I'm just giving you the out and out overview because of the constraint of time. And now the next and the final parts. We are just going to conclude and go to our main class after this one. That is the data interpretation part. So have you done any part of your data interpretation till now?
Yes.
So I hope that you are very well aware of the graphical representations like the bar charts, the histograms, the pie charts. So we are just showing our simple numerical data into diagrammatic figures, right? So that is what we do in these graphical representations. So same work you are just going to do reverse here. In the UGC net, you do not have to draw the diagrams. The diagrams will be given to you. You have to convert them into numerical figures. Like, they will give you the diagrams and you have to represent them within the symbols or the numerical figures, which will be the answers of the four options. And the final part is ICT. It is very basic, like what is emailing, what is video conferencing, what is the usage of online classes. Very basic usage of computers and internet. that is going to be covered in your final section. So this is all about the syllabus. Nothing outside the world, not very difficult. It's not that you cannot complete in the given time. You know
There's
that
9 and 10 also, no?
yes, this is the main parts that I told you.
Okay.
And the last two parts, that is the higher education system and the people development and environment. These are really very intricately already there in the geography syllabus.
Yeah.
This is our biggest advantage as UGC net aspirants, that we get an entire topic from our core syllabus. So I do not mention them separately. It's when you are going to learn paper 2, it's easily you're going to cover here. And the higher education system is nothing but the a bit of a history about our ancient education system and a bit of a new programs that are being launched by the Indian government on education. So you have to go through a few current affairs and static GK, and this part will be done. So very few questions are asked from the last part, Unit 10. So we can also say it is the one of the most least important parts if we consider with weightage to marks every year. So we will do it at the last. Okay, we are going to keep it for the last. So this is gonna be our strategy, and this was how we can summarize the syllabus. As I told you, nothing outside the world. Passing UGC net is not difficult. Let me tell you in the very beginning, many students every year are doing it by just studying 4 months, 6 months. They are doing it. It is possible. But let me tell you, you should not restrict yourself to just pass UGC net. That should not be your goal. Your goal should be the JRF, because once you are cracking that JRF, it would bring you another step closer to the research field. So you need to keep that as your primary target. I know it is your first attempt. Let's not hope for the highest goal. Let's just start with small steps. Let's just hope the first attempt you pass UGC net. Next attempt you go for JRF. In the very first attempt, don't target JRF. Many students have faltered by this. We need to be very basic and we need to be very, I would say, realistic about our plans. So realistically, because we have a few months in our hand, so it is better if we are planning for just passing the net this time. The next time that we are going to do, that is the coming month in June, there we will put more focus on cracking the GR. And very well, we will be able to do that, I'm very sure of, if you are preparing yourself in the right direction. And now today, coming to the session, as I told you, we are going to do a part of our syllabus that is going to act as a demo. So today we have selected the part of communication. So let me take you to that slide, which you feel a lot of problem on, which you told me that you are not that comfortable in this domain.
Obviously.
Not theoretically, but practically. You had mentioned that. Let me mind you again. So this is what we are going to begin with. That is the meaning of communication, the types of communication, the characteristics of effective communication, and the barriers that we face during communication. So this is a very integral part of our syllabus, and every year I can guarantee you at least 3 questions are asked from this part. At least every year in UGC net, you can check 3 questions will be there from this part. So today you can consider that by this session you are going to benefit with 3 questions at least. Now let's go to the first slide. So to begin with, what is our basic overview about communication? What does come to our mind when we say communication?
I'm not seeing it clearly.
Can you see it now?
No.
I mean, you are not seeing the slide clearly.
Yes, like what is written in that page, I'm not seeing that.
Okay, okay. Just let me change the slide for you. Let's give a more brighter dimension of a slide. I think that would be better for your eyes also. I guess this one is a lot more brighter.
Yes.
So let's begin on a positive note. That is the types of communication that we are going to learn today. So these are the few types of communication and their various subtypes. Like to begin with, we know there is intrapersonal communication, there is interpersonal communication, small group communication, which we also call as SGC, public communication, which many people are afraid of, group presentation, which is going to be very much a part of your research program when you are doing your PhD. You have to do a lot of presentations, and the mass communication, which comes much later when you are a researcher already, when you have to publish your paper. Then this part comes. So let's go to every part one by one. So to begin with, what is this intrapersonal communication? So here you can see that it is a kind of communication that occurs within us, because we know human beings are a very intellectual being. We are not like any other animals who cannot think. We are human beings because we have this capacity of thinking. This is what creates us different from other animals of the world. So this is all about when we talk with ourselves. I hope that there is certain amount of time in every day where, Kritika, you talk with yourself regarding various problems of life, where you curse yourself, where you curse your friends, where you tell good things about your people you like to yourself. So there is a person sitting inside us who is our best friend, who always is ready to listen to anything that we say. So this is a kind of interpersonal communication that is happening in every person throughout the world. So it involves thoughts like feelings, the way we look at ourselves. So here everything is transparent, because we know when we talk with ourselves, there is nothing to hide. We talk exactly the way we are, and the talking is very raw, very unfiltered. So it is the most raw kind of a conversation that we can have, that is with ourselves. Next, it is self centered. That means we always talk about ourselves. It will never happen that you will see that you are talking about somebody else with yourself. Whenever we are talking with ourselves, it's always about us. That what is happening with us, what is happening, which is gonna happen with us in future. And then you are the only sender and receiver. That is, there is no other stimuli that is happening from outside. You are the creator of your thought, and you are the person who is judging your thought. So there is no intervention from outside. And finally, the main channel or the creator of these thoughts, who is it? The question may come. So it is our brain, which is processing the way which we are thinking, and the thought is being discussed by our intellect. So we can say that inside our head there is a CPU that we have, that is our brain, and the work of the CPU is to process the various data that we gather in the day, like the things which we are seeing. This is what? This is data. That I'm talking to you, I'm seeing your face, I'm seeing your background. So I'm processing some data, and my brain is processing that and telling me what is the right way to talk to you, what is the right way so that we can have a better conversation, so that you can learn better. So this is all happening when we are talking. This is interpersonal communication that is constantly happening. Now let's go to the next part of communication, that are the elements. That is, which are the parts that do play a role. And from here, let me tell you, questions will be asked to you. This is the area of questioning. That is, what are the elements of interpersonal communication? They will give you 4 options and they will tell you to select the right one. So for that, we need to understand things very strongly so that we do not have to make many notes or learn many notes. So for learning, to begin with, you can see the first important element is internal stimuli, or the nerve impulses that are received by our brain as a result of psychological and physiological state of the body. Because you know, both your mental and physical state of mind is very important. You will not be able to think positively if you are sick, if you are not in good health. So it's very important to stay in good health so that you can think well. So our body and our mind is connected. Next is external stimuli, that is received from the sources other than communication, that is from outside what we get. That also plays a part in what we think. Like the overt stimuli. It is a very, very important term from where many times questions has been asked that what is this overt stimuli? So this is nothing but very simple. It's transmitted to one of the sensory organs of the body and is received during communication at a conscious level. That means it generally happens when somebody is thinking very deeply. And it is very important that you're thinking alone. There has to be no other person with you who is talking to you. You're talking with yourself, but you're thinking very deeply. So that is what we can term as the overt stimuli that is received during communication, and you have to be at a conscious level. You cannot be dreaming. You have to be conscious. then only overt stimuli can come. The next one is covert stimuli. Covert, by the very name, you can understand by covert operations. You have heard many times this term, covert operations. That means any operation that is hidden. So covert stimuli means hidden stimuli. So here you can see the external stimuli that is received by the individual at the subconscious level. So you will think, do you dream, Kritika? Tell me honestly.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. So do you know that why do you dream sometimes, while many of your relatives or friends or many people who you meet, they say that we dream pretty often and you dream only sometimes? Do you think there is a difference between you guys?
Yes, because people often dream, and I usually dream. Like I dream 3 to 4 times a year only. I
Yes, yes.
don't.
So that's pretty low in terms of frequency, we can say. So why is this difference? It is because of the individual subconscious. Because your subconscious mind, I would say, is very different to these people. When I and you are talking, our main mind or the conscious mind is processing our data, the way I told you. But there is a subconscious mind that is just at the behind of our head. It is called the subconscious mind. So what does it do? It has nothing to do with what we see. It has nothing to do with what we hear. But it does a work day in, day out, even when we are sleeping. Throughout, it is processing some random data. Like, say, it will process an image that I had seen 10 years ago with an image that I had seen today. And it would create a story. That is our dream. And it is not happening here when we are sleeping, because this part of the brain is at rest when we are sleeping. But the back of our brain, which is the subconscious mind, that is highly active during that time. And when it is very highly active, it creates dreams. That is,
Sir, sir, once a minute. उता मेरो एकछिन क्लास हुँदैछ यति होइन घरमा बस्नु होइन म मिटिङमा गएको कि हजुर ढिलो हुन्छ काहीँ जाँदैन होइन पर जाउँ भनेको चाहिँ एकछिन त्यसरी ताला चाबी लगाएर उयो खिड्की खोलिदिनु कि ठिकै जस्तो गरेर राख्दैन होला यो दैलो लगाइदेऊ ल हेर यो चाहिँ ल हुन्छ so sorry, sir.
no issues, no issues. You settle down comfortably, then we can continue. Okay, can we?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now the next part after this covered stimuli that I told you that is functioning at the back of our heads is reception. It is the most important part, Kritika, let me tell you. It is not only important in terms of communication, but for anything that you do in your life, reception is very important. It does not matter how well I teach you, but you have to receive that well. That is reception. And every human being is different based on their capacities of reception. The way I can receive a thing is very different from you. The way you can receive things is very different from what I do. So, based on that, our character is created, our success in life is created. Everything is dependent upon reception. So, this is the same for communication also. Like it is process where the stimulus is received by the body. How do we react? In easy terms, we can say the way we react. See, the way when you are react to something is very different to somebody else, because our mindset is different, our culture is different, the way we are talking is different. So naturally, our feedback will be different. So in that case, we can say the reception is taking place with all the five senses of the body. That means we are seeing, we are listening, we are feeling, we to some extent are also thinking, and more importantly, we are reacting. So all five senses are active during receiving. So this was about the elements from which questions are asked every year from varying rates. Now comes the interpersonal communication, that is referring to the communication between two people, or it is also known as the dyadic communication, because it is happening between two people. And these are the types of interpersonal communication. Now we are at a stage of this session where I think that you can take the course from here on. So let's begin with you explaining one of these communication to me. I'm very sure you can. Select any of these types of interpersonal communication and try to explain. And the
Okay.
reference is already out for you. You can see. You can use the
Yes.
reference.
Okay, so like I would consider interview. Like in interview, basically in my MSc thesis paper, like I have done interview, survey, etc. to collect data from people, like to collect primary data from people. So like in interview, we prepare some sort of questions and we ask to the people regarding the same. Like my topic was small holding farms, so like I prepared accordingly, like what is the size of your farm, and according to their response, I have prepared my dissertation paper. So like in interview, there is uh, there is questions that is asked by us to the people. So like basically that is the thing in interview.
Very good. Or we can term it as one of the finest ways of collection of primary data.
Yes.
Interviewing people. So very correctly told that I have nothing to say against it. So good explanation. Now let's get into the more harder terms. To begin with the first one in terms of interpersonal, that is the fatigue communication. It's not really hard, but we often find certain terminologies that sound difficult, but they are not. Like the fatigue communication, it is actually referring to the communicating with others to ensure mutual well-being. Like say when we are in the morning, when we are meeting our friends, when we say hi or hello, so it's a way of very intense communication with someone, and it's happening on a everyday or a regular basis in a casual manner. So it's what fatigue communication means. Next is conversation. You know, conversation does not happen with strangers, right? Like if somebody who is unknown to you, if they say you hello, you can return as hello. That happens many times. But you will not sit down and begin to converse with that person. It only happens with people whom we know. There has to be a pre-knowledge about that person. It's not important how many years or how many months, but you need to see that person at least once for starting a conversation with that person. So this is the next phase, or I can say the more private phase of interpersonal communication, conversation. The third one is dialogue, that is given clear meaning of two parties involving in spite of some obstacles. Like say for instance, when we are changing our views, when we are exchanging our views in a form of a debate, that is something which can fall under dialogue. There also two people are talking with one another, but they have differing opinions. They are in the same platform, they are talking about the same topic, but with differing opinions. This is what we can fall under dialogue. So this is the types of interpersonal communication. Now we are going for the next part, that is the types of interview. And you are doing specialization in this interview because you had just explained it to me. You can now tell me about
Sure.
what are they. Yes.
Papa, there's a problem. Someone's
Yes.
calling me.
Okay, you can receive. No issues.
No, I don't know who is this. कहाँ गए? Date लगता.
Or we are almost towards the conclusion. You can just disconnect for now. You can get back to that person later on.
So no, no, like this is wrong number, I guess.
Okay, you can continue. So as you had explained it to me about interviewing, so these are certain types of interview. Could you put some light to it? Any of them? That what are they talking about? These different kinds of interviews.
Um, so the second last one, I'm not seeing it. What is it?
Second last one is performance appraisal interview.
No, no, second last one.
Exit interview.
Exit interview. Okay, so like revenge counseling, press performance, appraisal interview. Okay, which one would I? Job interview. Okay, job interview, I guess. I can explain about job interview. In job interview, they ask you about like what is your hobbies or why would you do this job? What can you do for the organization, etc. In job interview, all this is asked, I guess.
What do you think is the sole purpose of interviews like this? Why do they do it? Because they
To
have all your papers, they have all your mark sheet, they have
yeah,
everything about you, but why they ask things in front of you?
Okay, to know about what kind of person you are, like how do you communicate, like
Do you think that we can judge a person that how good or bad he is just by conversing with him in 5 minutes or 10 minutes?
not exactly, but we can know about the personality by job interview, like interview.
Let me just check here. The thing what they actually judge in an interview is not how good or bad a person you are or how what kind of a person you are. They do not judge that, because for that you will need years, months, and a lot of research you need to do on that person. They don't have that much of time. So what they do is they actually check your promptness, that based on different situation, how prompt you are, how do you take decisions. They actually check your decision making. Within a small span of time, they will throw a question at you and they will ask you, if you were in this situation, what do you do? You will give an answer. Based on that, they can understand that how prompt this person is and how will he be able to handle my job. So nothing but short term, I can say, analysis of human beings they do. And now apart from that, you can select any of them. I can explain that for you from these types.
Performance appraisal interview.
Performance appraisal interview, it's the longest line, so it looks like it's something out of the world, no, but it is not. It is very much to do with, we can say, the MNCs. They often do this, the multinational corporations. So what they do here is nothing outside the world. That is, they might have a selection of recruits, new recruits that they have, and every month they make a meeting with these new recruits, and their team supervisor or their team leader is there, and he assesses that what good or bad that person has done in this month and which are the areas where he can improve. It happens every month for every company or any organization, mostly private organization. It happens very often that they are constantly raising your ground, you're raising your bar, that if you have done this much, next time we expect you to do this much. So this is what happens in this kind of interviews. That is an appraisal. They will appreciate you for what good you have done, and they will also put your mind that these are the areas where you can do better. I hope this was done in our schools also.
Yes. Exit interview.
Exit interview is something where which happens towards, I would say, the decision making point of view. Like say for instance, when a deal or when a collaboration has already been cracked, this exit interview is done so that we can finally discuss that what are the private clause among the two parties which needed to be taken care of before we move into that deal. So this is the last phase of any virtual or physical talk between the two parties on the same group who want to do a future collaboration. So this is what we can term as an exit interview. So now let's go to the next part, or we are almost towards the conclusive parts now. That's a SGC. And from here also, many a times we have seen that intricate questions have been asked every year, like it is a small group communication, or also known as an informal discussion. Like say for instance, BB and Masterson define it as face-to-face communication among a small group of people who share a common purpose or goal, like a feel a sense of a belonging to a group or to exert influence upon one another. So it is generally happening within small communities like village communities, like tribal groups. So where the number of people is very small, but their ultimate goal is same, or they have a common goal. So it quite often happens in the SGCs. And now finally we will see that what are the elements over there, or the characteristics of an SGC or a small group conversation. Like the topic of the discussion is usually general knowledge, because here they talk about a common topic, as I told you. They discuss on that. And the next is that the participants are usually not required to prepare for the discussion, because there is a person who is already narrating the topic for the group to listen to, and the exchange of ideas is leading to a plan of action or decision. It often happens in the village gram panchayats. Have you ever been to a village? You can see that the gram panchayat is done in that manner. Somebody narrates the
Yes.
situation, the
I
villagers listen to it, and they also give their views. The head of the village listens to that, and ultimately they come on to a final decision. This is
yes,
what
because
happens
I've
in a,
seen
yeah,
it.
yes. So this is a SGC, and some of the types are discussed here. like the encounter groups, which tries to facilitate personal growth and ability to deal effectively with other people. The assertiveness group, here the direction is more, I would say, to the point. That is, they aim to increase the willingness of its members to act more aggressively to get their rights. And the final one is the conscious raising group. It is done for the uneducated age groups or the uneducated masses, so that people cope up with the problems of the society and are conscious about the problems. So these are some of the types of communication which is a part of the syllabus, and on which we can discuss even more on in a more detailed manner on an exam point of view. This was just an overview kind of what I gave you, at what you can expect in our sessions. And apart from that, let me also tell you that because we have a plethora of topics with us, not a single topic in UGC net, so we also have a selected list of expert panels. So based upon your needs, every subject can be redirected or explained to you by a certain group of academic experts. So it's not that everything will be told by one person, that is myself. Based upon your needs, based upon your differences, you will get help from a wide range of the experts that we are working with. So that's going to be all about
Sir,
today's demo.
like, do you have group of teachers or something?
Yeah, definitely. We actually work as a collaborative group. Okay. So based upon our subjects, we will be training you. Okay. Like say, for instance, I'll be taking a certain section, but I am your mentor. That means after the conclusion of every explanation rounds, I will be there to summarize for every subject because I'm your mentor. But you are going to have explanations, recorded sessions from a great range of experts that we have all over India. So people from different parts of the country will be helping you in this journey of finally cracking net. So let's begin our work at the earliest. So this was all for our demo session. And as you know that your time is already nearing up, every day is very useful in this time. The more we are going to interact, the more study materials you are going to get, and you can start your preparation the fastest. So hoping to see, listen from you at the earliest. So you can assess about today's session, and we can get back to you towards the end of the day for our upcoming plan.
Sir, like we'll start from 10th, no, I guess.
Yes, most probably. So based on that, we can go on with the future programs, and you can discuss with us your dates and all. You know our WhatsApp number. We are always open for that. We can get in contact towards the evening. We can book your slot, and I can give you your timings and schedule and all. Based on that, we will start from coming week.
Okay.
Thanks for joining. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you, sir. You too.
Yes. तुझसे क्या चोरी है ओ से क्या चोरी है ओ से क्या चोरी है से क्या चोरी है और में तो चोरी है এতবার বলছি টাকাটা যাস না টাকাটা যাস না গভর্নমেন্ট তো কথা আমার একবার শুনলে তো হয়েই যায় তাকে বন্ধ করে বাড়া